Good evening, everybody. This is Last Minute Movies. Tonight, we're talking about a film that I literally wanted to have on a channel since we started a year ago.
He really did. He would not stop talking about this movie.
It's a movie that completely made my childhood. Like, more than Iron Giant, more than Treasure Planet, pretty much just as much as Treasure Planet. I've only found out today that Ali haven't seen it at all until literally 10 minutes ago.
Yeah,
So-
I just finished watching it.
I want to know how you feel. I want to know how you feel not knowing about this masterpiece until now.
Okay, hot take. This movie and like Avatar are kind of like the same movie.
Okay,
I'm not like, okay, hold up. I'm not saying this is a bad movie. Far from it. I actually really enjoyed this movie. But the plot is nothing that special to me. I've kind of seen it in like most movies I've seen that have involved like expedition, treasure hunting kind of shit. And I actually think that in terms of like, you know, plot and character work, I actually think the Treasure Island is superior. But
You're not wrong, but that depends on which Treasure Island movie you're talking about.
It's true, because also another thing though I do have to say is that you know, this film does have something that's better in Treasure Island, and that's its like ensemble cast, you know, and the relationships that they all have with each other. So it's like you can definitely compare them because they're very similar 2D animated films based about like treasure and exploring and yada yada yada. But they do have their differences. And
wait, Ali, wait.
What?
You made me think of a Soviet animation that is Treasure Island that you don't know about. One day,
I definitely don't know
will
about
show
that
it to you, but like, here's a taste of what it's like. Like, Soviet animation is a whole thing. I'm just gonna play
I've
a
seen it
10-second
before,
clip
yeah.
so you understand. What were you gonna say about the movie?
Yeah. So like, there's kind of, it's weird. So there's kind of a lot to unpack here. I guess I could just start with plot and just get it out of the way because it's gonna be the easiest thing to talk about. Igor, you could like, we could talk about this like.
Yeah, sure.
Honestly, like the plot is not like too spectacular in my opinion or anything like that. I think there's interesting themes within, but it's kind of your typical like, you know, guy who's an explorer, you know, scientist, whatever the fuck, who I actually really liked. I actually really liked his character.
Yeah, Milo is wonderful.
Milo's
like a perfect protagonist.
He's a very good protagonist. He actually, it's funny, he kind of reminds me a little bit of Peter Parker, like a little bit, like kind of nerdy, a little bit like awkward, but he kind of rambles a lot about like things, like science things he finds cool. Like I greatly enjoyed his character. It's also very different from most like treasure hunting or like exploring kind of movies, because the protagonist is either like a really like buff looking like blonde dude who can like who's like the ultimate Chad, or it's like
or it's like Johnson type.
Oh yeah, exactly. Or it's like a guy who's like, dude, fuck society, bro. Like I go against the norms, kind of like Jim in Treasure Island. Even though I like Jim a lot, but this guy felt fairly unique, actually. Like, you know, he wasn't the strongest. He wasn't, like, the toughest.
Yeah, he's, like, the underdog the whole time.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of like Hiccup in How to Train Your Dragon.
Yeah, he's a bit of a soy boy, but, like, but just like Hiccup, boy, does he have balls of steel. You know what I'm saying? Like, I liked his character. He was a cool guy. And I liked how, like, you know, he didn't want to, like once like it was found out like, oh, we're taking the Atlanteans' life force away, he was like, I did not sign up for murder or anything like that. I want to explore and I want to save them and help them. So yeah, like I liked what he stood for. I liked how he called all the characters out on their shit for like what they were doing and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I guess like the only criticism is not. I can't even say it's a criticism because it's more so a product of its time. So of course it's gonna be like that. But I kind of
Mm-hmm.
wish that like the native characters of said land kind of saved and figured out their own mythology without some guy trying to like, like some outsider guy like figuring it out for them. Because like that's like the only thing I'm like, well. I mean, I don't know. I just feel like, I mean, it's a product of this movie came out a long time ago, so it's a product of its time, and for what it is, it's good. But I just like, I guess comparing it to like modern times or what's going on now, I prefer to see like people empowering themselves instead of like, an outsider doing
Yeah.
it for them.
What do you mean by you mean like the whole colonization
Well, I mean,
part with the outside?
yeah, I kind of like that. Like,
Oh, yeah.
it's definitely not Pocahontas, not that bad.
Yeah.
But like,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of Pocahontas vibes. You know what I'm saying?
I agree. I mean, it's
Yeah.
the whole notion of they come in, outsiders come in, they want to get the valuable resources, but some of them understand the culture of the natives and fall in love with it and understand that they're people who don't deserve to be exploited like that. That's Avatar. That's maybe Pocahontas. That's definitely Atlantis and a whole bunch of other movies that have to do with the genre. So yeah,
Yeah.
you're absolutely right about that. What I do have to say about this movie is that even though it has a really simple plot, it hits the plot points so perfectly well. And just think about it this way: like when you were watching the movie, tell me honestly, did you expect the Ruhr guy to end up being the villain? When you meet
Yeah.
him, but like outside, when you meet him on a ship before they even embark
Yeah.
on the expedition,
I did.
even then,
I'm sorry. Yeah, I did
really,
immediately. I was like, okay, so I'm sorry. Like I said, the plot is kind of like
no,
I've seen it before. Like I was like, oh yeah, so this guy's gonna be
fair,
the bad
yeah.
guy, or
I guess after seeing
some force is
Avatar,
gonna. Yeah,
after seeing
like
Avatar, it's easy
if
to read.
I think what you're I think you're trying to appeal to nostalgia, which I totally love and respect
Yeah,
because I do the same thing in your shoes. But like
yeah.
as someone who's seen like if I was a kid, I would be like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. But as someone who's seen this kind of movie like many times, I was like, oh yeah, he's definitely the bad guy. And Helga, she is
Bro,
bad in more than
yeah,
one
yeah.
way. We'll get to that
Also,
later.
Helga can sit on my face anytime. Yeah, let me go ahead and
Yeah,
recap real
go
quick,
for it.
just so that all the scenes that we're gonna talk about later, it's gonna make more
Makes
sense.
sense. Exactly, yeah.
Because
So
like
go
there's a
for it.
lot of chronology to these things. All right,
All
so
right. The
Milo,
timer is at
Milo.
2 minutes. This is a challenge. Go.
Oh fuck off! No, make it like 3.5. Milo
Two.
is
Go.
Ah. Milo is a cartographer and a linguist scientist inspired by his grandfather who raised him to basically, just study ancient languages and ancient cultures that are long gone. And he's like obsessed with this idea of Atlantis and several scientific clues that demonstrate that it exists and it's worth, sponsoring an expedition to get it. He tries to apply in a museum where he works at as a boiler like maintenance person. He gets denied many times. They all kind of fucking hate him. But suddenly he gets a burst of opportunity. A friend of his grandpa's, before he passed away, made a bet that if he finds this piece of clue, the pastor journal who found the location of Atlantis, he will sponsor an expedition to go and find Atlantis. With this backdrop in mind, Milo finds himself on a ship with a whole crew of people that then puts him onto this incredible fucking looking submarine that was, I think, also made in deep canvas, just like all the other movies of that time with Iron Giant and Treasure Planet and Tarzan. So
Yeah,
they're
it
on
looks
that
fucking
ship.
gorgeous.
It's hands down my favorite part of the movie is just like the creative thought put into all of those vehicles and concept art. Like that
Oh, for
submarine
sure. Yeah.
has my
like
heart.
a lot of creative minds there.
Dude, the reason why, like, I don't need to see the rest of the movie. I just need to see that one moment where the submarine submerges with the most epic fucking soundtrack playing on the back. Like, it's beautiful.
I think the movie could have ended once Helga was inside of his room. I think it could have just cut to black, and I would have been satisfied.
Fair enough. I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
movie has every scene the movie has is really satisfying. You know, the opening scene is satisfying, Helga scene is satisfying, billionaire scene is satisfying. Like, people put their hearts to it, and I'll actually, like, there's a really good reason why it's that good. But
Yeah.
it's not an accident. But yeah, so the submarine is getting attacked by Leviathan, which is like this massive crab creature with a claw that ends up tearing it apart. A small contingent of people, including Milo,
Dude, I
and
did- okay,
basically
I
the
will
main
say this.
explorer team left.
I
Yeah,
did
what's
not
up?
expect the ship to get fucked that early. I was
Yep.
surprised by that.
It's
I was like,
beautiful,
oh, shit.
dude. Like
Yeah.
that moment is my favorite example of showing how everything is just gonna go wrong in a story. And that shit
Yeah.
is just so suspenseful, you know? I did not exhale from the moment they start getting attacked until, like, you know, they get into the sink hole situation and, like, the crack and actually, you know, surface there and you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Like that shit just keeps you in for the entirety of it. The movie is so good at building suspense. And then there's a low point. A lot of people are dead, but the guy who turns out to be a villain, who is a really good leader, apparently, like, he is a decent leader. He shows really good skills at leading the team, even though he's motivated by greed and money. In the end of the day, like,
money.
yeah, you know, he is a fairly decent man at the beginning of the movie. Like, that's why I'm saying the deception worked for me, and as a child, I totally bought into it. The journey continues, the expedition goes on, they have the resources that they still have accessible to them, which is enough to basically get to the gateway of Atlantis, where they meet Kita, the princess, who goes like, you guys should stay, we should talk, what's the outside world like? And then her father goes like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah,
by the way-
Leonard Nimoy is not impressed. He does not want them there.
yeah, no, he's not.
Oh, by the
his
way, he's
character,
voiced by Leonard Nimoy. Yeah.
his character is fucking insane because only like after watching it maybe second or third time you grasp the fact that he lives with the constant regret over his desire to, like, you know, use the power of the crystal for warfare.
Yeah.
He spent
That was a good
9,000
character.
years watching the ruin of his civilization kind of exist.
Yeah, that's harsh.
Yeah, that shit's
That's
insane.
fucked.
Like, so following that, Milo and Kita are having like a one-on-one, and it's really cute.
Not like
and
that, guys. Get your head out of the gutter.
we find out that Kita can't read, and like neither can most people, anyone in Atlantis, and Milo is like the only carrier of the language. And he's able to go underwater with her and read these ruins about this massive power crystal that powers the entire city and, like, kind of keeps their lives as long as they are, because they all live for more than 9,000 years by now. And that crystal is the source of power. Now, as soon as they discover that, we get a full 180, and it turns out that Rurik, the leader of the team, was actually a bad guy, and so was everyone else, and they came there to take the crystal, and they did not go there to find Atlantis and explore, and they're all pieces of shit. Milo is opposing them, so they're like, Milo, you're gonna be a part of the exhibit now, stay in the Atlantis, we're all gonna just steal the fucking crystal and leave. The crystal retrieval scene is insane. They practically kill the king before they find it in an attempt to interrogate him. And then they find the crystal.
Also, how strong is he? He gets punched and immediately has internal bleeding and dies.
Well,
He
dude,
gets
he's
punched
like an
one time.
old, withered man.
Yeah, he's
you
old
know?
as shit. Yeah, that's true.
And even though crystals
King's a
do
pussy.
give
No,
them
I'm
the
kidding.
even though crystals do give them power, I do have to say that the king lived 9,000 years of grief. You know,
Yeah, that's
he is
impressive.
broken on the inside.
He
it'd be
died
like
of a
that.
broken heart like Padme.
Jesus Christ. I mean, Padme did not get, you know, punched and thrown on the floor.
No,
and
she got force choked. Yeah.
Yeah, it was, sure. Yeah.
All right,
sure.
go on.
So the scene where the crystal is being absorbed is just fucking insane, just as creatively executed as the submarine scene, because Kita essentially becomes the crystal and they retrieve it from the
I
compartment.
thought she got
underneath the
Ultra
castle.
Instinct for a second.
Oh yeah, no, that actually did feel like it for a brief moment. And then my favorite part is when she descends onto the surface of the water and starts walking, which is totally not biblical at all.
Oh, of course not. And
then
you're not screaming Jesus at all, you know?
Exactly,
Totally
you know.
original.
And then you have like these massive stones fall around her, and it's just like that just goes to show the insanity of the aesthetic of this movie and how it's handled just so fucking beautifully.
No, don't. Don't touch her.
Anyway, they steal Kita as she slowly turns into the crystal. The crystal is retrieved from Atlantis. Milo stays behind. And in this pivotal moment where the rest of the team, all of these characters would get introduced with, Swede, Mole, and all the other ones, they decide to have a turn of heart. Yeah, Audrey.
Sweet, yeah,
Audrey's like the first one who turns around. They basically go like, don't fuck Milo over. We don't want to leave these people. And Whitney gives the best explanation of that, because all of them are kind of in a moral gray area because they have committed these types of crimes before, robbed and stole, but never did they like actually deprive the whole civilization of survival and like doomed them. So they have a turnaround. Everyone except for Rourke, Helga, and a bunch of faceless soldiers that follow them out of the Atlantis. And then the final battle ensues. Milo finds a way to earlier in the story, him and Kita find a way to pilot these like Atlantean vehicles that they lost an ability to power until Milo read the instruction and was able to turn that thing on, which was
how the fuck did they not figure that out?
Yeah, I mean,
they've been alive for like thousands of years and they didn't figure that shit
exactly.
out.
Like, just turn more. You know what I mean? It's so weird. Anyway. So yeah, the final battle ensues, and Milo is commanding now the whole of the team that changed their ways and try to fight them, and the Atlanteans are there and they're fighting with them with like this massive hot air balloon that is supposed to race through a hole of the volcano and take them back to the surface world. Milo faces off against Rourke. Rourke betrays the hot girl, Helga, and she falls on the ground and blows up the balloon. So she kind of has a bit of a redemption arc, but she still dies anyway because she chose violence.
Yeah,
and
people
death.
Brutally die in this fucking movie. That was something surprising, and I respect that.
Yeah.
Disney, why can't you give us that anymore? Why can't you give us that anymore? Like when Kingpin in Hawkeye is more child friendly than Atlantis: The Lost Empire, you fucked up big time. But whatever, I digress.
Absolutely. I guess in the end they manage to steal Kita back, and then they bring her back to Atlantis, and Milo like opens up the containment that she's in, and she brings the crystal back, and Atlantis gets saved from another flood of lava, which is another just kind of completely epic sequence with giants arising to create like a shield force barrier around it.
I thought
like
it was the Iron
Little
Giant
Me
for a second.
Yeah, absolutely. That totally gave those vibes. Little Me was gobbling that shit up like it's like it's nothing. I loved it. I loved it so much. I watched this movie like almost every day from the ages of like 3 to 7. I did. The first like couple hundred times I watched it was in Russian. Voice acting job was done superbly well, and like one day I'll talk about voice acting and just like how that's done in translation, because it's a really big industry in countries that don't speak English. But yeah, like in the end, there's a happy end. The team gets what they wanted. The Atlanteans are so thankful they give them a ton of riches, so everybody gets the money they came for. Milo
bangs the shit out of Princess Kita.
And Milo bangs the shit out of Princess Kita.
That's not actually how it ends, but it's definitely how it ends.
It's definitely
right?
implied, and it's definitely how it ends. They definitely bang. Beautiful fucking movie. Fucking beautiful.
Honestly, the best part of the movie for me is the cast. This kind of goes into the contrast with the weakest part of the movie for me, which is like the overall plot. Not like not necessarily like the characters, but more so just like the adventure and like the Atlantis storyline itself. In my opinion, like I don't know, I've seen it so many and I'm not saying like, oh, I have to have everything be original, because like humans and beings have been around for so long. We've been telling similar stories for such a long time. I mean, if we were saying we could only create original stories, then Romeo and Juliet would be like the only like love story that ever mattered, or something like that. You know what I'm saying? So I get stories being similar and having their themes, but for me, like this specific storyline, I literally felt like I just was kind of like watching like Avatar or something like that. You know what I'm saying?
I can see that.
But so like the plot is and it's like whatever. But the characters, like I think all the characters that are not the non-Atlantean characters, and I know like Princess Kita is like iconic, and don't get me wrong, like she's like cute and she has like her funny moments, but compared to like Milo, Audrey, Vinny, Sweet,
bro, Vinny's like one of my favorite characters.
They're so good. Like honestly, I would have rather had the plot be about them than the Atlantis storyline. Like I feel like the Atlantis storyline kind of hinders from their characters, and I think their characters on their own could have just continued a good, just could have made a good movie. Like, I would have rather seen like a movie where it's just like, you could even make it more simple, because like I feel like the Atlantis storyline is a bit complicated, but you could have just made it a simple treasure like hunting sort of like movie, and the entire plot just be centered around the redemption of characters like Audrey, the mole, Vinny.
I would love to see that.
Sweet, and Milo kind of be like their like, you know, shining light of like, hey guys, we got to do better. Like, I would have rather just had a movie about that, to be honest. Exactly. Yeah, I would have just rather had that been a thing. And to be honest, I would have rather, if that movie was a thing as well, I would have rather had Milo be with Audrey, because I think they have better chemistry, in my opinion.
Bro, he tried to be cute with her once after fixing the fucking drilling machine. I don't know what you're talking about.
Isn't she like a teenager or something like that?
No, that was like separate. I mean,
I thought
yeah,
she said.
but...
I thought he said that. Like, I don't know. Whatever. But yeah, I guess in my version, just age her up. Yeah.
Fair. Actually, I was gonna say, like, watching this movie so many times that I did, I was paying attention to the tiniest detail this time when I was watching it, just like try to figure out things I didn't think about yet. And I realized that in the beginning of the movie, there's a photo of their team kind of together when they found the shepherd's diary, or the pastor's diary, I think. And on the picture, Audrey is actually not on it. It's her father who's on it, who's wearing the similar kind of mechanic overalls. Yeah. Basically, the story implies that her father was on that expedition, but she herself was not. Which means that the reason why she is the first character to turn around and actually stay in Atlantis, to go like, this is bad, is because she is the newest member of the team other than Milo. She obviously knows them, and she has the vibes, you know, like she meets them. She's not an outcast like Milo, but she hasn't been with them for long enough to commit to doing something terrible for benefit of money.
Exactly, yeah, and I like her relationship with everybody, and I don't know, I know she's like not the main character, but I actually really like Audrey a lot.
Audrey's wonderful.
I really like Sweet too. I thought he was like a really like fun character. Like, he was like a big guy, he was like buff guy, and typically he'd be like, I don't know, like the strong man or whatever, but like I love how they contrasted that and they made him like the health guy. Like, they made him like the caretaker. Like, I thought that was like a really cool character thing as well. And
absolutely.
And also, I just didn't expect any black people to be in this movie, so I was pleasantly surprised when there was a black person in this movie.
Yeah,
you know, so I was like, oh, okay, cool.
The cast is
I really like
Vinny. Diverse.
Vinny and his whole like pyromaniac blowing shit up thing, like I love it. Like,
his backstory is also beautiful. Just having
it's funny.
Job was to blow shit up, to want to open a flower store.
He has like the most explosive, like destructive, like backstory, but he wants to do like the sweetest thing. I thought that was a really cool character thing as well. You know, the mole was funny as well. I mean, like, he was more so like the comedic relief. Like, his character was kind of just digging things, but he was funny. Jebediah was funny. I like how they had like the southern like guy just like on their fucking team. Like, I just thought that was pretty funny as war.
There's so much charisma to his character.
I like Bertha, like the older woman. She was like she was like a good source of sarcasm. She was like the straight man of the group. Helga can step on me, you know. Anyway, it's literally so like the movie was like, the movie went one way. So I was like, okay, so this is like some nerdy guy, and he's like trying to convince them to go to Atlantis. So he gets to his apartment, and then all of a sudden he has like a 10 out of 10 standing sitting like on his couch, and he's just like, hello, Milo James Thatch. I'm like, wait. And like kids shows and films, like, they have a lot of sexual innuendos that they just don't pick up on.
They do.
And another thing too, I never thought that like a Santa reference could be hot, but you know what? Atlantis, the Lost Empire proved me wrong.
I came down the chimney. Ho, ho, ho. My name is Helga Sinclair. I'm acting on behalf of my employer, who has a most intriguing proposition for you.
And I'm like, is it the proposition for you to step on me? Because I would say yes. I came from the chimney. Ho, ho, ho. I was like, well, you know what? I never thought you could... I never thought that you could make that hot, but you know what? You know, Helga just did it, so there you go. Yeah.
Rourke, when turning around, when they catch Milo and Kita after they go for a swim, tries to explain what his kind of goal is and what he's all about, and he calls himself an adventure capitalist.
Yeah, I laughed when he said that. Like, I laughed so hard. I was like, that's hilarious.
Yes, you know, and they picked that line. It was not by accident, you know, because
Dude,
think about it
conservatives
this
would be
way.
so triggered if they saw that, man.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And
Yeah.
think about it this way. Think about it this way. So, Rourke and Milo both actually turn out to be leaders in their own right. It's just Rourke is motivated exclusively by wealth, personal benefit, idea of taking something that cannot be taken away from you because the civilization that owned it is like dead. You're technically still robbing a grave, but you're benefiting from it. And he is convincing of a leader enough to have that whole team of people that are not as bad as him, but totally are on board with getting paid. So he is just like this. He's not corrupt. He just rolls with the punches of a corrupt world that they're in. And that makes him do terrible things. And what makes him a terrible person is a choice to, kill people while taking their treasure, which is,
Yeah,
the whole
like
thing
Helga.
he did in Atlantis.
And when he tried doing that, he's like, we need to lighten the load, and he's like, all right, overboard you
Yeah.
go. I thought that was
And like when they arrive to Atlantis, actually Helga tells him like, we didn't expect to find people here. That changes everything. And he's like, that changes nothing. And I was like, wow, what a piece of shit.
I was like, oh.
So
Yeah.
and then you have Milo kind of juxtaposed against that, who never ever steps up to lead unless that is what is required of him. Just like Aragorn in Lord of the
that was
Rings.
badass. He's like, I'm gonna go get Kida back. I was like, oh shit,
Yep.
all right.
And he has
Yeah,
a very,
yeah.
very good understanding of what it means to be a good person and a really good moral compass. He cultivated that while working as a fucking boiler maintenance person in the basement of a building where he had a glimpse of getting what he wants to get.
I think he obviously went to the Captain Li Shang masterclass of "I'll make a man out of you." But
Fuck yeah.
another cool thing I thought about this is the bad guy and Kida's father. So I can't pronounce his name. I'm just gonna call him Leonard Nimoy. because
Sure,
Leonard Nimoy
the
voices
king
him.
of Atlantis,
So
dude.
the king of Atlantis and the bad guy. So him and Leonard Nimoy, right? Like they're kind of, what I like about them is that they're like the same character. So he wants he wants the crystal and the powers from it,
Yeah.
for conquest or selling it and
Yeah.
prosperity and all of that. And at one point Leonard Nimoy wanted that as well. That's why he lost control of his city. And I thought that was such a cool thing, because usually in these kind of movies it's like one side's all evil, one side's all good, but we
Yep.
see a character who is not willing to give up the source of their power, obviously because he doesn't want to further fuck over their people since he did that, but also because he was once that bad guy. He was once that power hungry man that wanted to take advantage and rule. And I just thought I thought that was really cool. Like, he wasn't just like an old wise man character. He was wise because of the mistakes that he made. And that's good storytelling right there. That's good writing.
Facts. Bro, I think the reason
don't
why I
really-
love this
yeah.
movie as an adult is because of that moral ambiguity of many characters. That everyone is in a
Exactly.
gray area. The king fucked up. The whole team fucked up. Rourke fucked up.
Yeah.
Milo is like the only pure character, and the only other one is Kida, but she's like that because she got fucked up at the beginning of the movie when her mother was taken away. You
Yeah,
know?
exactly. And it really goes to show you that, your predecessors, even though your predecessors make mistakes, you can still change for the better. And I thought that was a cool thing,
Absolutely.
Like Audrey, like you said, it may have been implied that her father might have been a part of that team, that was, robbing graves and doing all that shit. And then she started doing it as well with them, working with them. But then she changed for the better. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Good shit.
Absolutely. So, I got some production moments, and it actually has to do a lot with Ulysses, which is the name of the submarine. That's how they named it in the animation process. Basically, 27% of the movie is computer animation, which I think it's also deep canvas. I didn't get a full confirmation that it's deep canvas, but it's safe to assume it's deep canvas. It's really expensive. It takes forever. But to me, in this movie has the best integration of 2D and 3D. And any scene involving that submarine Ulysses is just proves that. I think that Iron Giant could have polished it a little bit better. But again, they were restrained by technology. This came out, after the major deep canvas experiences like Tarzan, so they were really able to integrate them together. And the artists speak about that a lot when they do that. But also, the people who worked on this movie just and like this is why this movie is good. There's no accident. This looks this way and it feels this way and the story flows this way. People who made this worked on Hunchback of Rotterdam and Beauty and the Beast.
Okay. Ah,
they made every...
The GOAT, one of the best.
Yep, and basically every other Disney animation of that time, every major musical, everything that
I did
looks
get some
and
Beauty and
feels
the Beast
good.
vibes from the animation.
Yep.
Yeah, I
Yep,
can
it's
see
just
that.
really fucking good. And it was, you know, hand-drawn. And speaking of hands, you know, like, they put their hearts into that shit because every character's hand animation is designed, and the movement and the shape of their hands is designed to reflect their personality and what they're doing so fucking well. Like, if you watch this movie, you definitely paid attention to shots of hands and close-ups.
Yeah, and the movements that they do service their characters. You see, like, you know, Milo, he's very, like, twitchy, very fast-paced kind of person, you know, city slicker type, you know what I'm saying? And
Yep.
I can't believe I just said that. And then you see, like, Helga, and she kind of, like, moves like a cat. Like, she has her own sort of, like, slow but, like, you know, seductive kind of movements. And then you see Audrey and her movements, they're very direct and, you know, to the point and stuff like that. And then you see Sweet, and you see, like, even though he's like this big guy and he has like a lot of physicality, he's actually very delicate with his hands and what he does. And then you see the Mole, and he's very rough in what he does. And
He
then
digs.
You see, like, Kida, and she's very, like, you know, almost like you know, like Sweet, where she's very, like, nurturing, but when she has to fight, like when she fucked up those guys, I was like, damn, girl, she threw she threw some Muay Thai knees, some takedowns. She about to knife a motherfucker up in that bitch. I was like, damn, okay.
Yeah, no, she was fucking on it. She's a warrior, dude. Like, that's how we first meet her in that mask,
she's definitely
jumping
a warrior.
around. Like, holy fuck.
I'm like, damn, Milo, 3 different characters are about to step on you, bro. You be careful.
Yeah, I know, right? Yep, late 90s, early 2000s animation. I mean, it's beautiful, and it fucking made a generation of kids who, like, love that shit and who want more of it, but it's not coming back for us.
Yeah,
So
2D
Atlantis is a
animation
gem.
the best.
If you're like Ali and you haven't seen it until today, like, what the fuck are you doing? And
Yeah,
please-
like, despite my comments on, like, the plot, I think you should see it. It's a lot of fun, especially if you're, like, a parent and you want to, like, kill time and show it to your children. Like, they're gonna love it.
Yes.
And I think
Yes.
you'll enjoy it too. So go watch it. Yeah.
Absolutely, show
Very
it to your
underrated
children.
film.
Very underrated film. And yeah, with this in mind, here's another iconic animation on the channel.
Yeah.
And with that, we bid you goodbye and see you in the next episode.